34-34, Eric Janicki.
Coach Greg, in today's video, Eric Janicki turns pro.
Number 34-34, Eric Janicki.
Let's watch Eric competing against his opposition. The main reason that Eric turned pro is because he had a proper tan. Third tan on after I ruined the second one, the third tan, so you can see a very good and proper tan. And so bodybuilding is in Borders Post. The Gringo did it. Huge congrats to Eric Janicki for winning his pro card. With Regan Grimes writing, "Yes, bro, Toronto, now let's go." And so Eric Janicki has already announced he's gonna be competing in Toronto Pro, facing none other than Regan Grimes. And let's be honest, Eric won the show by a mile. Larry Wheels with the hand thing, doing this with the little like cubes above it. I don't know what that means. Like you just did a high five, like a double tap. Your hands are getting wet. Must have been looking at Coach Greg. The Miracle Bear, good job. Welcome to the Pro League. Johnny Munster, IFBB Pro. Ah, my son, that's terrific. I mean, I wrote preserving paid off, 1 in a million. I meant to say persevering. Hussein Farhat, Mr. 1 in a million. LFGGG, proud of you, bro. Dr. Mike Israel, he put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hands like that with things above it. So he's very happy about his win. Finally, could not understand how he wasn't a pro yet, LOL. Crazy physique. All right, here's a comment. Last call out with that conditioning, not gonna lie. Here's the reality of the sport. If you don't bring ridiculous conditioning, you're probably not going to make the first call out. Now, Eric has the size. Does he in fact have crazy mind-blowing conditioning? I don't think so. Could he in fact improve? Absolutely. Patrick Moore got 10th place, I believe it was the California Pro. And then the week later, he came back and almost won. He got 2nd place, and that's in 1 week. And so it was stated on Nick Strength and Power that he performed 32 workouts in 6 days. He said that averages out to about 4. Now, last I checked, 32 divided by 6 is not 4, but more like 5 point some, but it's still a lot. Now, does that mean that Eric Janicki has to go to the gym 5 times a day? I think this is moronic. Why not just go once or twice and go a little bit longer? Why are we going to the gym 5 times in any given day? Now, what should Eric Janicki do? He should double up on his diuretics. I said it. What else should he do? Double up on his cardio. Said it again. And what else? Consume fewer carbs and do it closer to the show. He doesn't need to carb up for 2 or 3 days in order to fill up his muscle glycogen stores. We had the discussion. I said, listen to your coach. I was not his coach. If I was coaching him, I would have had less carbs, done later show, and more diuretics. Oh my God, diuretics. You don't think that IFBB pros are using diuretics? Oh, he wasn't dry enough. Why do you think that is? Oh, I'll take a quarter of this and a half of that. It ain't enough. And if you try to come in too full, of course, you're not going to have the condition and the detail that you once had. And so if he wants to make the first call out in Toronto, he's going to have to get significantly leaner. Now, in comparison to his previous competition, he weighed 247 pounds. At this competition, 257 pounds. I'm going to say on stage, depending on the lighting and so on, he brought equal, if not a little bit better conditioning than last time with 10 added pounds. Now, does he need to come in at 257 pounds to do well at the show? Absolutely not. Conditioning and shape and balance can help you to win shows. And so if I were Eric, I would diet harder than last time, do more cardio than last time, take more diuretics than last time, carb up a little bit less, and show up in Toronto bone dry. And so I showed Eric Janicki at the Prejudging how he was looking and so on. I posed the question, how do you think Eric looks in this show? 58% thought he would win his pro card today. 13% think he's 1 in a million, also a compliment. 23% maybe next time. That means about 1 out of 4 people said, nah, he ain't gonna do it. Well, 7% were Ericing their Janickis with Turk Max.
I've actually always thought he's got a really impressive physique. I mean, he's, as far as the guys that we're talking about here, obviously both Sam Sulek and Larry Wheels got a classic physique pro card, but of the big influencers to turn pro so far this year, I would say Eric has by far the most impressive physique of the 3, even though it's a different category. I think he looks great. He's a big dude. He was in good shape.
To win an IFBB Pro card as a massive man, super heavyweight, 257 pounds, It's not easy. Most people could train their entire life. For example, Hussein Farhat, he could revoke his natty card as if you all think he hasn't already done so. And no matter how many years he trains, I don't believe for 1 second he could ever get to 257 pounds. I don't know if he could ever get to 225 pounds. Conditioning is fine. They filled him up a little too much for this show. Looks incredible regardless. I hope he can nail a win. Don't think that stage lighting does him justice. Let's hope he gets it. And so this is a very important point. Depending on the stage lighting, where you're posing and so on, you're gonna look better or worse than you really are. And so now that we know he won his pro card, clearly he looked very good. All right, and so let's watch Eric compete and let's just go pose by pose and see how he did. Front double bicep, you can clearly see Eric is absolutely dominating the other two gentlemen in terms of size, and it is in fact a bodybuilding competition. One of the important factors is, do you have a lot of muscle? If you have a lot of muscle, it helps you win the show. If you have a little muscle, you're probably not going to do very well. The other factors are, of course, the shape, symmetry of the body, and the conditioning. And so if we compare this pose, he's clearly winning it. His legs are bigger, biceps are bigger. He's actually pulling in slight vacuum pose. It's a clear and dominant victory. Next pose, going into the front lat spread. And so what we can see in this pose is the gentleman to his right has extremely wide clavicles, much wider than Eric. Eric, however, has a lot more muscle. Guy on the left, he also very impressive. And if we then go down to the legs, I believe Eric's feet are a little bit too wide. It's giving him a little bit of a thigh gap towards the center. I think he would benefit from having his heels a little bit closer, but he has significantly more muscle than the man to his right. And remember, when the camera is taken from the side, from the right, the people to the left are looking a little bit smaller. And so because Eric's in the middle, he doesn't look as big as he would be if he was to the right. But you can see a clear and obvious size difference, and so I'm still giving it to Eric for this pose. Next is the side chest. Now, man to the left, I think that he's clearly in last place in this pose, just to have the thickness in the thighs. Eric and the guy to his right, the other guy has extremely massive legs. If you saw Eric in person, you'd see just how big his legs are. And so the fact that they are very, very similar, it shows you just how good this guy really is. Both have very good chest, shoulders, arms, side chest. And so in this pose, I could see them giving it to either man, and remember the camera is to the right, and so it is making Eric look a little bit smaller. And so if a judge were to say, oh, I got Eric in second place in this pose, I could see that happening. Personally, still thinking Eric, in fact, wins his pose. Next, Eric is looking massive. The guy on his left, he has a great physique. He has better hamstrings than Eric, perhaps slightly leaner glutes, but his back has a significant lack of muscle mass. Eric's back is massive in this pose, and so I have to give it to Eric only because he likely has over 30 pounds more muscle. Now in the rear lat spread, I'm going to give it to the guy on the left. He has a much better V. The waist looks minuscule. It's tiny. Wide shoulders and hamstrings are popping. I do believe he could be a little bit leaner. The hamstrings, they're not as strided. They don't see the hamstring cords and so on. If Eric were perhaps 5 pounds lighter, it would bring out more detail and definition and allow him to place significantly higher at the Toronto Pro. No one is going to beat Eric in the side tricep. He has shredded obliques, the waist looks tight and small, ridiculous horseshoe triceps, deltoids, and massive quads. Chest looking full, thick, and so this pose belongs to Eric. Thigh and abdominals. Now, many people critiquing, saying Eric Janicki has a wider waist, which is a valid criticism. His waist isn't tiny, doesn't look like Chris Bumstead, but he does have a very pronounced six-pack, and his quads are massive. He has the sartorius, the vastus medialis, that teardrop muscle, lateralis. Everything looks amazing. Abs, the biceps above the shoulder. Excellent pose for Eric. And in the most muscular, who do you think has the most muscle? Of course, it's Eric Janicki. Now, could he have more conditioning in the lower half? I do believe so. But when you consider how much the delts are strided, the chest, the abs pop, the biceps are huge, He is winning this pose. And last pose, the crab shot. They're grabbing each other's arms. They know it's between them two. When you're a competitor, you know what the judges are looking at. Eric is in the center, favoring him for the win. And so he grabs a hold of him saying, hey, I want to battle it out with you. Hope everyone's in Toronto. I'm going to be attending this event. I'll be watching, cheering him on. I'm hoping that Eric can come in perhaps about 7 pounds leaner. I want to see him at about 250. 7 pounds leaner, drier, crispy, grainy, doing more cardio than ever before and less water so that he can battle and attempt for a first call out. I met Eric Janicki. I gave him some Turk Builder Max. He never used any performance enhancing drugs whatsoever. Remember, it's a 1 in a billion physique. He achieved this look 100% natural. He only used Turk Builder Max. And so if you use Turk Builder Max, you'll likely either turn into Eric Janicki or a blue lobster.
And I'm being sarcastic.
And so if you don't believe me, who's the bigger fake natty? Hussein Farhat or Eric Janicki? Code Greg, 15% off if you're looking for a coach. Remember, we have myself and my team. And if you want to apply, you can click the link in the description. They have cheaper discounted rates. We get on phone calls with me. We have unlimited text messaging, weekly check-ins, the diet, the training, everything, even blood work being read. And so click the link in the description and apply today. And until next time, I am out.